So, ladies and gentlemen, I guess it's GG's now when it comes to the transfer window, ladies and gentlemen, for Barcelona. There is not going to be any more incomings at the club. Sorry to break the news to you guys, but yeah, it's been confirmed now by the president that, yeah, in principles, we should not expect any more signings. So, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know what to think about it. Obviously, let me show you guys what I am talking about. Man like Joan Laporta, he had a lot he had to say. He basically came out in one of his regular press conferences, and he basically come out and said, yeah, in principles, there will be no more new signings this summer. We have a good squad. The coach wants to strengthen the first team with players from the reserve, so we shouldn't expect new deal. So we don't expect new deals at the moment. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, listen. This has been confirmed by Mundo Deportivo, who are a reliable source. So, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, obviously, you guys know I have been talking about how I feel like Barca need to go and I'll take advantage and maybe go get some new fullbacks because we need some depth in the fullback positions. But now it's basically now confirmed that basically it's over, right? And look, I'm not going to lie to you guys, right? I put this on Twitter and there was a lot of people, who reacted to it, and they, some people were like, Omar, it's not that deep, you know what I mean, right? We have fullbacks in the academy. Some people were saying that, basically, Laporta is saying that, financially this and this and this, and they were talking about the 101 rule and everything else. And look, I'm going to give you guys my honest opinion because people think I enjoy coming out here and, ranting and shouting. But here's the thing. I'm not going to do any of that, right? I'm going to be very, very objective. I'm going to actually come in and give an unbiased and very, very logical explanation. Here's the thing, guys, right? If it's true that the club cannot financially go out and buy players, I'm struggling to believe that. Let me tell you why. Because here's the thing, guys. We've been dealing with this situation now for almost 4 years, right? Where our finances worse in 2022 is way worse than where it is now. That's just a fact, okay? If you don't believe that, then you need to get your head off a rock, please, okay? Our finances was way worse back in 2022. The difference is this. In 2022, when we had, I keep saying it, when we had Armani, he wasn't just a sporting director. The guy was good with numbers. He was a strategist. He understood how to go and approach the transfer window. Which players he needed to go and get, who he knew we could sign and register ASAP. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because, guys, all the talk of registrations we ever hear about the club has only occurred ever since we've had Deco in charge. When Armani was in charge, we never struggled to register players, ever. He had 3 transfer windows. In fact, now, he had the January 2022 transfer window. He had the summer transfer window. He had the winter transfer window. And he had the summer one as well. So he had 4 transfer windows. And he never had to deal with registration issues. In that time, we went and bought players. We went and brought in players. And we registered them right away. Now, why was that? Why is it that we were able to register people easily? It's very simple. It's because, ladies and gentlemen, to register players in La Liga, it depends on their wage bill and also depends on departures. So players that come out, that leave the club, right, can be replaced by people that come into the club. But also, it depends on how much they're getting paid. So if the players who don't get paid the most, they're easier to register than people who are on higher wages. Because people with higher wages, some other players who are on the club with higher wages, a big player has to be sold so that those players with high wages can come in and be registered. You understand what I mean? If you want to see why the whole thing with Ter Stegen is bringing so much controversy, is because he is actually one of our highest paid players, right? And his salary, him leaving, could open the door for us to go and register these players like Joan Garcia, Rashford, Ronnie Baggio, all these guys instantly, right? But here's the thing. When you look at right now, the fact that we've brought in Rashford on a loan deal, We're paying him 14 million, which means that we could technically register Joan Garcia because he's not on high wages. We can definitely register Ronnie Bashi. He's on low wages. But the Rashford one is going to be very, very complicated because he's going to be one of our highest paid players at the club. You understand what I mean? And this, for me, keeps coming down to what I've always been saying. The issue is this. Financially or wage bill wise, we can't go toe to toe with Real Madrid and other clubs. That's just the facts. So because we can't go toe to toe with those clubs, we have to then be smart. What do I mean? We have to go out and we need to sign players who are going to be on low wages, right? And also, if we're lucky, get them on a loan deal or on a free. Listen, last season, Almani brought in Joan Felix and Joan Cancelo. No, actually, the season before that, he brought both Joan Felix and Joan Cancelo, both of them on loan. We couldn't sign the players on a permanent deal because they were gonna ask for too much. The clubs were gonna ask for too much, so we couldn't sign them all on a permanent deal, right? They were in very, very good wages, so it didn't affect us. Players like Marcos Alonso, players like Ilkay Gundogan, players like what's his name? Hector Bellerin, Frank Kessié. All these guys were free signings, right? Because they were free signings and also they weren't being on like 200k plus wages, it was easier to register those players. You understand what I mean, right? When we went out and we splashed in the transfer window, it was that season when we brought in Koundé, we brought in Lewandowski, and we brought in players like, what's his name? Rafinha, right? And all of that, ladies and gentlemen, comes from accumulation of the fact that the season before, Lionel Messi had left the club. He was one of the highest paid players at the club. His departure opened our wage bill to such a point that we could actually go out and spend money. However, when it comes to Armani, yes, he went out and brought Lewandowski and brought in Rafinha and brought in Koundé. The other players he got in were on a free and they were on good wages. And that's why we were able to register everybody very quickly. The issue with the club right now is, under Deco, he insists on trying to sign these players who are either going to cost who are going to be very expensive, or are going to be on very high wages. And as a result, because of their being on high wages and the way our wage bill looks, we can't technically register these players even if we can sign them. That, ladies and gentlemen, is why Laporta is saying, on principles, we can't sign anyone. Because we do have money. Let's be clear here. We haven't spent any of our transfer budget. Let's be realistic here. We haven't, right? However, guys like Rashford are one of the highest paid players at the club. So even if we were able to bring in players like a Van der Sar or Dumfries or a Grimaldo, we would struggle very much to register these players. And this is where I always come back to, because people always think I'm always attacking the club. It's not always me attacking the club, saying the club to go and sign players. I'm saying that the club needs to be smarter when they approach the transfer window. We need to be smart, right? At the end of the day, it's not always about world-class players. We cannot buy world-class players. Our wage bill is not structured well enough to be able to handle that. We have to take things one at a time. We have to make smart signings. We need to make low-key signings who, are good players who are gonna come in and they're gonna be on low wages. They're gonna be on very, very good wages, right? They can be registered very easily, right? But this is the thing. When it comes to Deco, he wants to go out and sign Luis Diaz, who was gonna cost 75 million, and now he's on his way to Bayern Munich, right? He wanted to spend that money on Nico Williams. And now he's signed Rashford on a loan deal, which we haven't spent any money on fees. However, we're putting him on high wages. This is the things that I always call the club out for. And here's the thing. I'm going to be very honest, right? I want this club to be transparent with us, the fans. Because one thing I will say about Laporta, I've given Laporta a lot of credit. But one thing I will say about Laporta is, this brother is not always transparent. He's not always 100% honest with us, right? You look at what's happening with the stadium. He guaranteed us we were going to be back in the stadium, and all of a sudden there's delays. The fact of the matter is, he jumped the gun. He should have waited, right? And the fact that now, this whole situation, he's saying that realistically there will be no signings in this summer. And basically, he's trying to basically pin it down to the fact that, oh, Flick wants to work with his reserves players. I don't like it. Because I'm going to be very honest with you guys. It's very evident what Laporta is doing, and this is why I don't like it. We're throwing Flick under the bus. Because here's the problem here. Anyone who's heard this, they're going to look at this and say, well, Flick said this, Flick said it, Flick said it. Listen, the club are not always going to tell you the truth. The truth is the club can't spend money, and they can't tell us that, yo, we can't register players, so we can't sign players. So instead, they're going to sit there and say, no, don't worry about it. We're not going to sign players because we have a good squad. And that's the problem. That is the problem. And that's what I keep calling the club out for. Because if things don't go well, the first person the fans are going to blame is Flick. And you know it. A lot of these Barca fans are going to walk up and they're going to say, well, this is what Flick said. Flick is the one that said he wanted Rashford. Flick was the one who said who was happy with the squad. He was the one who told Laporta that he was happy to work with the reserves. Smell the coffee, guys. This is always the case. And unfortunately, Flick is, he's how do I put it? He's clearly a guy who wants to work with what he has, but he needs to be very careful. And I don't like what the club are doing to him. Just be transparent with us. Be transparent with us and tell us that we can't spend money. And we understand. And as far as the season is concerned, listen, I'm clearly disappointed because, Barca fans can say, but Omar, we have players in the academy. Listen, keep saying it before, I'll say it again, guys. We can't always rely that the academy is going to always create gems. It's not that easy. I know La Masia has been making it look easy these past few years, but trust me, it's harder than many people think. So, yeah, it is what it is. I mean, let me know what you guys are saying in the comment section below. Let me know. Am I overreacting like many people say I am? Let me know, guys. Make sure you guys smash the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications. And peace, you guys. Take care.